Welcome back to Unite, everyone. There's a new patch. I assume it's going to be out this evening in about 10 or so hours from recording. I don't know when this is going to be uploaded, but anyway, patch 1.4.1.7 is what we're going to be discussing. Very simple. If it's a good change, I'm going to put it in a good category. Meh is, well, if it's neither really good or bad, just kind of like, why? And bad is if this really should not have happened, but it did. So, these are all the changed mon, by the way. I don't know why this is here in this tier list maker. I don't think that's actually in the game. But these are all the unchanged. Aegislash has like a bug fix. I think it's just matching an animation though, so it's really not anything. Anyway, let's get started. And we are going to start with Blastoise, which gets a change to Water Spout during Rapid Spin. Apparently the duration has been increased to last the entire Rapid Spin, so you get more hits out of Water Spout when using Rapid Spin. And I think this is a good change. Most people don't really use Water Spout anyway. It's considered worse than Hydro Pump. So I really don't mind this change at all. Should help out a little bit. I don't think it's a major change, but it's good to see them trying to make Water Spout more useful. Okay, Mr. Mime. Guard Swap. Now lasts as long as your target is in range. Breaks after target moves too far away, or the move is used again on another target. Now this is an interesting change, because now if you walk outside of their range, outside the range of Guard Split, it just kind of goes away. I think this is sort of a nerf. And we also have changes to Confusion. Considerable damage reduction. Let's see, ratio's higher, but scale is lower. Don't really know how that works. The base damage is knocked down a decent amount, though, which could impact Mr. Mime's use in the competitive meta. And also Psychic. Mime can now attack during the cast. Okay. Psychic's probably still not all that good. I don't like this change, actually. I'm going to put this as a bad change, because I don't think it's really justified nerfing Confusion. Even though it is a good move, and paired with the with block, barrier. It is a very strong option, but there's no real reason to nerf it. It's not like it's destroying the meta or anything. It's just good, and I don't really think this was the right change to make. Psychic does need some help though, and I think they could improve that more. Also, Guard Swap getting a nerf, that's kind of strange too. I don't know. I don't feel good about this change overall. Alright, now for the... I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in bad. Cramorant got nerfed, and I don't understand why. So, Dive has a smoother animation, I guess that's cool, but the ratio in scaling is significantly lower, and the base damage is, oh gosh, it's almost half. But I guess to compensate, you get bonus damage to the first target hit by your boosted attack after dive, though it doesn't show here how much that's actually increased. Oh, that just sounds like a really big nerf. Also, Air Slash cooldown is 2 seconds longer. So dive and Air Slash, which is the set that is less used for one, is now considerably worse. And I don't know why. No one was winning tournaments with Dive Cramorant. It just wasn't happening. Even in Ranked, I did not notice Dive Cramorant just destroying everything. This just feels like they're just making him worse and worse as time goes on. It's already not popular. it's already just not good compared to like Pikachu. And you have to make one of its sets just bad. I don't understand that change. Just really, this is probably the worst change in the patch, is this one right here. But I'll move on. Let's see. Alolan Ninetales boosted attack, the animation smoother, whatever. And supposedly there's an attack speed buff on the boosted auto, or like the base attack speed's increased, so that you get more hits when you're in the Veil, which also got a buff. It is now also a dash and causes boosted attacks to heal. That is a good change. I like that change. This is going to make Auroraville a good bit more viable, probably even good. This might actually make it good. And I would not be surprised if Ninetales is going to be more popular in this patch because of that. Okay, let's move on to my favorite change. Lucario nerfs. Let's go. That's good. That's good. Lucario always needs nerfs. The thing is, in almost every patch, Lucario has been like the top pick, the top meta pick. You always want Lucario on your team. So it needs to be scaled down enough to not be almost like necessary on your team. And let's see what they nerf. They nerf close combat, which is this has been the popular move now because of slow smoke being so much better, which they actually changed slow smoke. I'll get to that in a minute. Damage goes from like, it's a decent chunk that it loses in terms of damage. It's not huge. It's not as big a difference as Cram's dive, but this is a change that needed to happen anyway. And I am glad to see Lucario getting slowly nerfed to hopefully no longer be absolutely necessary on the team. So, good change there. Next up we have Greedent, which movement speed reduced, strange. Tackle has been nerfed, and Defense Curl has been nerfed. So his early game has been nerfed a good bit. Specifically Tackle, that extra 1.5 seconds of cooldown is going to hurt him pretty bad. I'm going to put this in meh. I don't actually think Greedent needed an adjustment, but I can understand why it was adjusted, because it is a very frustrating Pokemon to fight. But I don't think it was really too disruptive. You know, it's good, but it's not like Cinderace where you're just kind of clubbing the whole team with autos. So I don't know. I'm not sure on that one in particular, so I'm gonna just put it in meh for now. Next up, Eldegoss. Right here we have Cotton Guard shielding is now nerfed, which is fine. Cotton Guard was the better of the two moves on that slot, so I guess it's okay that it's nerfed. Doesn't really change much, I'm sure. But the Unite move actually has been buffed with a cooldown reduction of like over 20 seconds. That's pretty big, and it is possible that Eldegoss might end up better in this patch because of that. I don't really know where to put this change. I'm not sure if I like it or not. Eldegoss is already very strong, so I'm just gonna put it in meh for now. We'll see how effective the cooldown reduction actually is, if it just turns into Pikachu as but a support. It could be very disruptive. It could not be disruptive at all. I'm not sure yet, so it's going in meh for now. Alright, Decidueye. Spirit Shackle has been buffed. Charges faster. Actually, wait, pretty much everything's buffed on it. Like, the damage is buffed, the charging is buffed. Just buff all around, which it needed. Spirit Shackle's just... It's hard to get that move to work for some... They've had to buff it so much. Hopefully this is enough that Decidueye can finally be good. Also, the Unite move, Knock Knock, has been buffed good. It kind of needed that. It's all just the little quills. The final arrow is unchanged. So good buff overall. I think this was necessary. Decidueye just struggling to keep up compared to everything else. Alright, next is Zeraora. Volt Switch deals 50% increased damage on the return dash. That is really strange. Also, I think that the ratio and scaling is higher, so it's going to be more offensive on the return hit. That's a strange buff. Not really game-changing, so I'm going to put that in meh. Zeraora still struggles a little bit after the big nerfs to Discharge and the Night move. It just doesn't have the same power as like Talonflame and Absol right now. So I don't really think that's gonna help him and help it in the meta at all. But it is something, and should make Volt Switch just a little bit more usable, I guess. A little bit stronger. Anyway, now we have Trevenant. This is good. Increased movement speed, interesting. I didn't think Trevenant was particularly slow. I'm sure you're not really gonna feel that movement speed change though. And there's an unknown bug fix. No idea what that is. So, Woodhammer, stun duration increased, huge. We need that. Recoil is now lower. That is big. And this should, hopefully, if the stun duration is high enough, Woodhammer is actually going to be good. And Pain Split now slows your link target, and you get more reflect damage on your ticks per tick. That is a good change. I think Trevenant really needed this because Trevenant just feels like bad Blastoise a lot of the time. So I think this is a good change, and hopefully it's enough. I'm not sure if it is, but it is needed. Alright, now to Serena, which has increased lifesteal. That is big. It used to gain 5% at level 5, 9, 13. Now it gains 5% at 5, 7, 9, and 13. So it gets an extra 5% at level 7. That's going to be helpful. And Drop Kick and Stomp both got considerable buffs. The cooldown's lower on Drop Kick, and the Queenly Majesty buff is higher. So Stomp just does more damage, I think. No, the Queenly Majesty buff on Stomp is better, and the ratio is higher. So that is a fairly decent change. Serena kind of fell out of the meta after all the nerfs, so I'm glad to see they're trying to bring it back into like a usable state. Not that Serena's really that bad, but Serena is kind of weak in the current meta, so I think this is this is a good change right here. Gengar, oh my boy, Gengar. Special attack increased by 30 at all levels. That change right there is big. Also, boosted attack does more damage. I like that. I like that a lot. This might be just what Gengar needed to no longer feel like the bad speedster. So Gengar just struggled with damage, and because you have like Talonflame and Absol, it can just blow stuff up. Gengar kind of blows stuff up, but is a lot more vulnerable when it's doing it. So it needs to have more of a purpose in that you should just be destroying everything when you're Gengar, because if you don't, you just die. So I think this is a good change. Gengar is my most played, and I've had to stop using it in ranked because it just doesn't keep up as well as the other junglers. I use Greninja for jungling nowadays, but I might be able to go back to Gengar now with this buff. Especially the early game gets a good bit better with the special attack increase, because Ghastly doesn't do a lot of damage. It just doesn't. So overall, really good change. Last we have Hoopa, which I'm kind of surprised they changed it so quickly. Shadow Ball is nerfed. It's not a huge nerf, but it is a nerf. And the Hyperspace Hole now has 2 seconds more cooldown. And the Unite move, you do less damage. It's not a massive amount of less damage, but it is less damage overall. And I'm actually going to put this as a good change. I don't really think Hoopa had enough time for us to figure out just how broken it actually could be. But the early results are very promising, and this could prevent it from just like taking over the meta and becoming the next Lucario. I feel like Hoopa had the potential to be as important as Lucario, and this kind of general nerf to this nerfs both builds really. So I think this is a good change, just to keep Hoopa from being like too good and just absolutely necessary. Even though we really didn't have enough time to see if that was going to be the case, but this should kind of ensure that it is not necessary. I like that change overall. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Slow Smoke. I don't have an icon for it, but Slow Smoke has less slow. It doesn't slow as much. We don't know how much that is. It doesn't say here in the notes. And cooldown is now 5 seconds longer. This is a decent change. Slow Smoke was very frustrating, but it did balance eject button, because it was so frustrating that X speed became more popular for certain builds, and eject button was used less in favor of Slow Smoke or X speed. So I hope this is not a big enough nerf that the meta just goes back to eject button, but I do think it was a little bit too disruptive. So I would put this in the good changes if I had an icon here. Oh man. Well, that's the patch actually. There's Duraludon. I would put that in good as well. It's always good to have new Pokemon to play with, and Duraludon is one of my favorites from Gen 8, so that's going to be fun. Anyway, bad. Poor Cram. I feel so sorry for Cram. Cram's my second most played. I really like Cram, but now I just play Pikachu because Pikachu's way better than Cram. The Mime Chains really doesn't like that either. Yeah, this is an interesting patch, and it's mostly good, I think, and hopefully they stop nerfing Cram in future patches. Maybe they'll realize Cram is just bad, no one plays it. But anyway, that's the patch, and we'll see how it ends up, but this is my current standing on all that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.